Hey everyone, we are live yet again, and this is going to be one of my authors' chats of the week, and I'm going to keep my eye out for my co-host who'll be jumping on in just a moment or so once notifications get sent out. And I hope everybody's week has been going well. Today is filming this on a Wednesday. We'll see if this platform is nice, and I'll be able to reshare this at a later date on my YouTube channel. But right now, this week has been a very different week because I have finished working on active projects for the moment. What I mean by that is I am not writing any new books or any new material for the next 2 weeks, just because what I'm trying to do is actually try to take some of my ebooks and audiobooks and make them available, as they say, on Book Talk or in the author community wide, which means they'll be available on the other platforms and stores, and not just on Amazon or my website, but you'll be able to find them elsewhere. So that's my goal for the next few weeks, and that's what I'm kind of trying to deep dive. Plus, I have a book release coming up in a couple weeks as well. So I'm doing the last final stages, and I'm really hoping to get my arcs out because it's one of my novellas, and so I usually give them about 2 weeks, and so that's right around now. So I was working on getting my arcs ready to send out and those copies ready to roll. I was hoping to do it this evening, but I just ran out of time, so they'll be up and about and ready to be sent out tomorrow in the morning. So that's a cool thing, and I am excited about that. But my life has been just cruising along, and that's a great thing. Gearing up towards the holiday season, and that's another reason why I really want to make sure ebooks and audiobooks are available to as many people as possible, because it's holiday season is coming up once we get through spooky season. Hello.
Hello. I don't know why.
Let me turn up my volume because I realized I had it all the way down. Okay, how are you?
I am good. I don't know why I can't see myself.
There's something you have to like press, and I never know what it is. And it happens to everybody, so you might have to fumble around for a moment. But I can definitely hear you. Okay, if you press your face, it looks like it shows you like the no.
Yeah, there it is. There I am.
Let's see.
Can you see me? There we go. Hey.
Hey, yeah, okay. I was gonna say I can never remember because being the host, it's already automatically set up for me to rock and roll, but I never know why it automatically does that every time I invite someone on.
Yeah, that's so weird. I don't want it does it either. I haven't gone live in like such a long time.
Well, welcome back to live streaming, but and thank you for doing this right after work, because I know you kind of had to book it here, so I'm glad it all worked out.
I usually get home like a lot sooner than now. There was just like there was like a blocked lane or something on the way home,
yeah.
so it was like chaotic. But
I understand. I've had a couple of these where, for whatever reason, I was caught either like coming back late or heading somewhere for some reason, and I'm stuck in traffic, and I'm like telling everybody, I'm like, I will be there, but it'll probably be a few minutes late. I'm so sorry. But more often than not, on those like handful of times, I think only once I was a couple minutes late. So it's the magic behind the scenes of us all scrambling to get on. But
yeah.
Thank you for joining me. And I don't know if you've ever listened to any of my lives, but it's pretty conversational. And if anybody asks questions throughout the live that's bookish related, we'll try to do our best by answering them. And but since you're my co-host this week, I'll let you introduce yourself and what you write.
Okay. Well, my name is Tim, but I go by TL Routledge for my books. And I have 2 books out currently. I have Immortal, which is book 1 of the Immortal Chronicles, which is a like grimdark fantasy. And then I also have Forsaken Kingdom, which is a prequel novella to a series I'm working on, and it's like an epic high fantasy.
Ooh, okay, now my head's spinning. So, since you're starting out and you have first of one series and a prequel of a future series, what made you decide right off the bat that you were going to do multiple series simultaneously? Because that's something I do, and it gets chaotic. So just curious, what made you go down that particular rabbit hole?
So with Immortal, I actually wrote this book like 10 years ago, but I had published it like when I wasn't that good of a writer, and it was just really bad. And like I unpublished it like about 5 years ago, and I really wanted that story to be out, but I wanted it to be done well. And it wasn't done well. It was just like so cringe when I read it, like over before. So then last year I decided to, well, not last year. Last year I rewrote it, but I rewrote it. I republished it last year, and I just preferred it that way. And then I was like, I still wanted these books to be published. So I basically kept the plot the same. The character was the same, but like I changed like how I wrote it. Originally, it was a young adult, like set in the real world history type of situation. But then I switched it over to adult fantasy, grimdark, and like it's in its own fantasy world. So it's yeah, it's definitely been on a journey, and I'm like halfway done with book 2 in that series. But I've been so distracted by like, okay, so here's the other thing that I will mention. I have like a lot of ideas for books, and I'll just like write them down, and I'm like, I should write this book instead of this book. And then like my timeline of like book writing is like the slowest timeline because I'm just like because I'm just like it should be like I should be done this book here, but instead I'm like I'm gonna work on this book here and up until past the timeline, and then I'm like I should probably go back to this book and write that one. So I'm like constantly being chaotic with how I write books.
It's a good kind of chaos, and I know again from my experience of writing multiple books simultaneously and having them in so many stages, I'm super excited because later on this year, unless something bad happens, I'm going to be wrapping up my second completed series, which is really neat. But the downside of that is at this moment in time, because I'm in the final editing and formatting stages of the last 2 novellas for that series, I've written so many other series or books that are standalones, or et cetera, so on, that going back to it, I'm kind of like, do I remember what's going on?
Yeah, right? And like
this like a couple years ago, and now it's finally getting back to it. I'm like, who are these characters again? Where are we? How is this going?
I think for me too is like it's hard for me to like go and write that series because I mean I originally wrote like the first like 6 books for this series, like back when I originally wrote them. So like I already have all like the plot down pretty much. But like I've read and written this book so many times I just don't want to like touch it anymore. Like I'm so done with this series, which is terrible. I really like the characters, I like the story a lot. But it's like I'm so tired of these characters.
It can be that way, you know. I especially if you've well, when I write longer series, I either do 2 things. I either become super attached to them and never want to let them go. I'm like, okay, it is time. It is time for me to back away. Or it's the opposite, where I'm like you said, you get tired of them and you're like, I just want to do something new. I want to do something fresh. And I've said this before in some of these lives that was kind of where I hit that wall earlier on this year. I was working on a 6th book of my YA series, and it was just so slow, and it was like trying to beat my head against this wall, and I couldn't it wasn't working the way I wanted to work. So I actually paused that one and worked on another project. And now I'm kind of refreshed. So hopefully when I go back, I'll be ready to rock and roll, but who knows?
Yeah. So the reason why I started writing the other series, I wasn't going to do this initially, but like I just had an idea that I just needed to write. And I ended up like writing I technically wrote the whole first book, but I got some like interesting feedback from like beta readers. Mainly they're saying like it was like there's too many characters, POVs, which I get. And so I decided to like clip out like a part of the book and make it into a novella. So I published the novella, and then everything that's left over is like I'm still that's another book that's gone through a lot of changes also. Like initially like the story was way different, and now it's like a whole different story. But now I'm working on like another book that I shouldn't be writing because I'm like, again, like I just had too many ideas and I'm like writing them all down all the time. So now I'm working on like a really, 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 really dark, grimdark book. And cause like I was writing in the Immortal Chronicles, and I'm just like, these aren't dark enough. Like I want them to be, they should be darker, but I don't want to like make it dark of like this randomly in the middle of the series. So I'm gonna keep writing it as it is. But then that was like, I'm gonna make another series, just make it like super grimdark. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm writing this like another series.
And I'm a person who I do tend to like darker fantasy and fiction. And so two of my series are in the dark fantasy. One does dabble with the grimdark side of things. But for my YA series, I wanted to be very true to the reason why I wanted to create it for a younger group of teens. So for that one, it is very light by questing and just, again, a family-friendly fantasy. But it may be one of my few ones that are like that because I tend to like writing darker works. I like the battle scenes. I like the twists. I like readers not knowing if a character is going to make it to the end. I like that stuff. So I do understand that draw to, oh, this is a nice series. I want to continue it, but I also want to be writing something very dark at the same time. So you get that kind of pull both ways. So I hope you're enjoying writing your upcoming grimdark, because grimdark's a fun category.
I do really like grimdark. I will say, like, I definitely always get very into whatever book that I'm currently working on, but the problem is, like I said, like I need to finish the ones I need to finish, and I just don't. But yeah, I don't know. I won't ever learn my lesson, and it's okay. So I'm not upset about that so much. People get mad. The people who get mad are the people who like the books, and
they're waiting.
And they're waiting for the sequel, and I'm just like, I am sorry, but I'm also not sorry that it's taking so long.
But you also have to let it be right, because if you force a book out too early, or it can affect the quality of the book, and it can affect the story of the book. And as you said, it sounds like you're definitely a writer where your first reiteration of the story is almost nothing like the final product, which is a little very different from what I do. I usually have a very close first draft to the final draft at this moment in time. I'm sure they'll probably change at some point, but both ways, again, when it comes to writing, both ways are totally fine. But it is very interesting talking to someone, because I think, especially if you start building a readership, some readers would love to see a first draft of your work. So then they can kind of see the dramatic changes by the end, because I've heard more and more readers think that's fascinating, where, especially with people who have such dramatic edits going through, and they're like, wow, that book is this book, but they're not the same.
Yeah, like if people could like read the original Immortal, it's so different than what I published. And it's like, I mean, like I said, the characters are the same, like the same names, at least to say, and like there's similar places, but not quite the same. But the plot is like, for the most part, the plot is the same, but I've added things, like I, changed a bunch of stuff. I made it a lot more like, well, dark. Because the original book was like so, I don't know, it was like so cliche in a way. Like I wrote it when I was like pretty young, so like I didn't really know a lot about writing at the time, and I just had an idea and I wanted to write it, and it was just, I mean, for how old I was, I think I was like 18 or 19 when I wrote it, and that was a long time ago. So it was like, it was just like I don't know. It was good, I guess, for when I wrote it, and then as I progressed in my writing journey and I got better and found my writing voice, I was like, I cannot have this in the world and have people read it. It's just awful.
Well, I hate to break it to you, no matter what stage you are, whatever your earliest works are going to be, you're going to look back at them in a number of years and be like, oh, I did that, didn't I? I do that now with my early works, and people still love them. I have all different readers who will tell me how much they love them, and it's their favorite book, etc., so on, which is all very nice. But when I go back and read those works, if I wrote them today with my skill set, with my knowledge, with my writing voice, it would be very different.
I even feel that way about the book I published like last year. So
yeah.
like literally the Immortal that I published last year, I'm like, I could have done that better. But it is what it is. So.
And I see a comment pop up saying, we are always changing. Our work also changes too, and that's very true. And as writers, you want to change, you want to get better, you want to improve. And I reiterate myself and repeat myself all the time. Every book you write, you want to be better than the last one. You do want that challenge. You don't really want to plateau. So it's a good challenge to have. And it is a good thing to look backwards and be like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Exactly.
But no, it is a good thing. But okay, so let's talk about your book and your novella. For your grimdark book, who is your main character or characters? What's your world that you created? Tell me a little bit more than just you have a grimdark.
So that one, because it's originally set in the real world, it was like originally set like in Europe. So I kind of had to create like a world like similar to Europe in a way, but like condensed and not so massive, So I had to make it this like similar like locations, but like obviously make it fantasy. And like the main plot of the books are the characters are trying to find immortality. Mm-hmm. And so there's two brothers, Alexander and Marcus. And then Marcus is the one who kind of like starts the journey going because he's attacked by a creature and he kind of like becomes like, I just heard a review, someone say, they used the word infected, which is an interesting term to use. I would never have ever used that term, but it's kind of cool, I guess. So I guess they get infected by this creature, and like basically it turns their whole life upside down, and like their whole future is changed because of that one moment. And he kind of like disappears for a while, and Alexander doesn't like. He basically gets to like find him because like there's a big world, and it's like plus he finds out all these like things. Okay. There's no sugarcoating it. A lichen bites him, and he becomes a lichen or a werewolf. Okay, if I don't say that, it just makes it so much harder to explain. And for a long time, I was like trying to keep it like I kept it like a secret, like it was about vampires and werewolves, and I was like, I don't want people to know, and I was just like, who cares?
Good marketing. It's good marketing.
It is. So. He becomes a werewolf, basically, and he can't control his transformations, and he kind of just like is just wandering like just the world like on his own. Alexander ends up like meeting like this. I call them travelers, like they're like gypsies, mm-hmm. And so he meets this this guy, and he's kind of like tells him about the world that he like, cause they live in this world, but like their father kind of like taught them like lycanthropy and vampirism is like pagan rituals, and it's like for them it's like they just think it's like a load of crap, and they don't really believe in it, even though they're in this world and they've seen things, but they don't like believe in it. You know what I mean?
Denial. It's called denial.
Exactly. And they kind of go on this journey, and eventually Alexander is like, you have this ability, or the brother has this ability, and it basically gives him immortality. And the brothers are the only, like their parents are both deceased, and like there's a lot of mystery behind that, and they don't really have any other relatives or anything, and like basically they made a vow in the beginning of the book, like, so like I should mention this before. They're at the beginning of the book. They're in like a battle, and it's like a war that they're in. That's like separate from like the rest of the story, kind of like, but it's like kind of like intertwines. And they made a vow, basically saying like if they were to die in battle, they would die side by side, no matter what. So if one gets killed, like the other one will just take his own life because that's how strong their bond is. And because of that, the other brother is like, well, if you're immortal, like I'm gonna die like way before you are. But the other brother was like, well, I mean, like I could just kill myself basically, like when you die. But the other brother was like, no, like there's no point in you doing that. Like we should like begin this journey to find immortality. So they go on a quest, and the quest is like a very long, grueling, traumatic, chaotic quest to find immortality. And there's like different elements they have to like find, and there's like different creatures along the way they have to fight.
Let me ask, are you a video gamer? Because it kind of sounds like certain kind of like game systems where it's like we're gonna go on a quest, and then there's these side quests, and then we're gonna go get the object. I love it.
I love the game Skyrim. Skyrim is like one of my like favorite games, and I will say that my novella, I've took a lot of pointers from that game for that book because it gets very like D&D like in a way, and like I just love that kind of storytelling. But surprisingly, Immortal isn't really that D&D like. It's just more like that part of the book is like when they go on the adventure and they try to go and find these things. But there's another main character, and her name is Sinead, and she's a monster hunter. And she's like my favorite character in this book because she's such a badass. And like basically her story starts off with she's like hunting lichens, and that's like her job is like hunting werewolves. And she's already been living in that like the world that the brothers don't want to believe in. Like she's been living in that world. And she's part of like this tribe, and her literal whole point in life is literally just hunting monsters and this like between mainly lichens, but she does kind of get mixed up in the vampires a little bit, like later on, but no spoilers. but in my book though, like the vampires are like very like sinister and like very just very evil. Like they're like
so more the original style vampires where they're not like, actually good things.
Like they're like picture like Dracula or like my inspiration behind these books behind this book was like Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman. That's like one of my favorite movies too. I know people hate it, but it's like it's such a good. To me, I love it. Van Helsing was one of the inspirations. Dracula, just Dracula in general, but Dracula Untold because it's like medieval. And then Underworld, but not any Underworld, but Underworld Rise of the Lycans, like the.
I was gonna say, yeah, I do like
those three movies, and then like randomly, it's like two shows, like Supernatural, because of the brothers, and technically, okay, I have a story there, and then the originals, which is a vampire show.
Wait, let me ask, have you utilized all this as some kind of pitch for your book? Because people like that, like understanding like, hey, if you like this and this, but then you like the brotherhood thing of this and the vampires in this, and you put it together, you get this book, you know?
Yes.
If you haven't done it that way, you should.
I have a couple of times. I've played around with it, I will say. But going back to Supernatural, the idea for this whole book series came from watching one episode of Supernatural. And it was like season 1 of the show. And it was like, I can't tell you what the episode was about. I literally just watched like the first 10 minutes and I was like, I have an idea. There was this like, it was an episode about like Sam and Dean were like, they had heard about this monster like terrorizing this village. And it was basically like a werewolf. and it was like this werewolf creature running around these woods, and it was like, you know, terrorizing this village. And that's literally where I got the entire idea for this like series from like a 10-minute part of an episode.
I
So,
love that. I
yeah.
absolutely love that. And actually, this kind of, again, this TV adaptation thing goes into a question that came up from Alex saying, when you both write, do we think about what the movie adaptations of our work and what would they be? So do you ever think of who would act your book, or who would act as
A
your
hundred
characters, who
percent.
would produce it?
I so I for Immortal, because there's like two brothers, and so Marcus is the older one. He's like the more like the gruff badass, like the one like the ones you like don't want to mess with, and then Alexander's more like based off of my personality, and he's more laid back, not so like upfront, you know, like that's kind of more how he is. I would love the idea of having actual brothers play the brothers, and it would be Chris and Liam Hemsworth playing the brothers. Chris being Marcus and Liam being Alexander.
I
And
like
it'd be
that.
perfect. Because I feel like you just need that dynamic. Because like the whole point of that is of the book and those characters is like their bond of like brothership. You know, like their bond of brothers, and it's like I also base it off of myself and my brother, and like so just a little bit of Marcus and my brother and Marcus and me and Alexander, and plus like with Sam and Dean, it's like that was the whole like the initial idea coming out of it, you know, and then I just think that would be a perfect like cast, you know. I think
And you would have that, that true brotherly, you know, the joking, depending on your personality of your characters, obviously, but there is something about like when siblings are together, they act a certain way around each other, and that would be really kind of neat. And to answer Alex myself, it all depends on the book and series. I would love all of them to be turned into something, yes. But there are definitely certain characters where I, seen an actor perform or hear a voice, and I'm like, ooh, that person in this. For my young adult series, I have it's a magical multiverse here, a huge, huge number of characters. But one whole group, one whole world has these humanoid bestial beings that kind of reminisce of Egyptian gods. In the sense of their look, they're humanoid with like animal heads. And one of the rulers, I can hear Idris Elba's voice coming out. And I'll be like, ooh, can this happen one day? But yes, there are certain characters and certain actors that I would love to put together. But the funny thing is, one of my editors likes to edit work and say, how would this look like on the screen? For instance, if there's a night scene, one I get a lot, is there enough light for people to see visually this if this was on like a TV show or screen? How can you explain that away? Can you explain that away? Or is this purely dark? Like, how can you visualize? And I was just like, interesting. So, it makes me think of things that I would not have before. But I have another question also, and then it says, does it affect how you describe the scene? Yeah, okay, so it goes up to the above. So yes, for me, it kind of does when I come to write things. I try to visualize now, what would it look like in the off chance it turned into a show?
I don't know if I do that. I feel like I write it as a book. You know what I mean? Like I know you do too, but like it's hard for me to it's not hard for me to visualize it. It's hard for me to like separate it and see like how it would look as a show or like a movie. I just think it's like I think it's just like you're taking it out of like where it is. It's like I would be like really anal about people who would like want to like make my book an adaptation. I'm like, no, like this is how you gotta do it. Like, cause I feel like they'll just mess it up, Like I just that's a problem with it. Cause most adaptations from books are terrible, except for like Lord of the Rings, and then like even that, like they didn't even have everything in the book in the movies. So you know what I mean? So.
That's the only thing is people have to realize when it's an adaptation means they're adapting it. You're going to have the same thing, and it's hard because you have something that's, 100,000 words, 600,000. I don't know how big something, you're trying to put that in, especially if it's a movie, an hour and a half, 3 hours. Like, how are you going to capture all that? And you are going to lose things. And it's so the question is, will it capture like the core idea or not? And will it do it justice enough that the author's like, okay, or is it going to be cringeworthy and you'll be like, I wish I didn't do that.
It's like, I feel so bad for like, what is it, Christopher Poloni with Aragon.
Mhm.
That movie was so bad. I was like, and the book was so good.
At the time, he was young, and for a young person getting a movie deal, for anybody, let's be real, if anybody just got like allowing a deal, it would be, prudent for someone to learn to read the fine details of what you're able to do and who has the control. But sometimes you just kind of miss that because you're seeing, oh wow, it's actually going to be on big screen. And
that's
one
true.
of those things is I have to, if I ever got the deal, I would really have to think of like, is this going to be a movie? Is this a show? Who's producing it? What platform? All these things kind of matter.
I feel like I would be like so like annoying to people. Like if I'd be like, okay, I need to be a part of the process, but like I'll let you do the casting, but like I feel like I should have the final say. At least pretend like I'm there, and you try to cast somebody who like is not. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I feel like I'd just be too picky with it. Maybe I shouldn't be involved at all. It would never get made.
Like, what is it? Is it America's Got Talent? I don't watch reality shows. Which is the one with the big X's, and it's just like, no, pass.
I think it's that one. Yeah, that would be me. I'd be like,
I veto you. But yeah, it would be hard, but it is still kind of a fun thing to think about. Like, what if? How would you adapt it? But that's another thing is like adaptations. I've talked to more and more authors who are interested, or even some that have adapted their books into graphic novels. A totally different way to retell the same story. And it's just wild to me because yes, you're going to miss, on one hand, a lot of the verbiage and those details, but when it's a graphic novel, you get a lot of the visual from the art that kind of adds back in. So interesting, just interesting.
One thing I recently did was I did audiobooks for my book, and the novella is done for the audiobook. That came out like about a month ago, and then Immortal's audiobook should be done next week. So that's exciting. And I will say the audiobook, hearing somebody read your book to you is like such an unreal, like surreal feeling. And I love the narrators that I've got for both the books. There's two different narrators. But for the Immortal one, because it was originally set like in England, I had to get like a British narrator because I just needed it. So he has a really like calm, soothing voice, and it's like really nice. And then for the novella, for the other series, I got this older gentleman to like do the reading, and it just sounds like he literally, like, to me, he sounds like David Attenborough. Like, I mean, that's what I hear when he talks. I'm just like, this is awesome. This is like the best guy I could find for this book.
That's fantastic. So actually, let me ask, since you brought it up, with your first audiobook for your novella, where do you have it? Is it through Audible? Is it through other platforms? Like, where can people listen to your audiobook?
So for sure it's on Audible. I think it's also on... Okay, so I haven't actually checked. I know it's on Audible for sure. I've seen it on Audible. It should be on like Apple something or other as well. And there's like another platform too. I just cannot think of what it's called. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't really know. I have plus like have you done audiobooks or no?
Yes.
So like, you know how they give you all those like promo codes? I was like just handing them out like crazy to people. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna like hand out all these promo codes. But the problem is like they give you like 25, or I think it's like 20, yeah, 25 US and 25 UK. I'm like, who am I gonna give the UK ones to? I don't know anybody who lives in the UK.
Hey, you could run one here and say, hey, if you're from the UK, tag yourself if you were interested. You know, you can do it if you wanted to. You just have to ask and say, this is why. Because yeah, there was someone who was very sweet who gave me one of those codes, but she gave me the UK one because she's from the UK, not thinking that I was from the US, and it didn't work because
I accidentally I didn't realize this guy was from Australia, and I sent him a UK code. He had an accent. I was like, dude, this doesn't work in Australia. And I was like, oh, you're in Australia? I was like, I didn't realize. I was like, I'm so sorry.
yeah, it is one of those things that do matter. I do see a question asking about narrators. Would we ever consider using an AI generated voice for narration?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, personally, I would only hire other people because as an artist and author myself, you know, I want to
as a human,
I want to support.
I only want to support other humans. I don't want to support AI.
Yes, and I've worked with a number of different narrators and before for my various book series, and they all bring something that is just really unique because I specifically try to find narrators who can adapt their voice to make a whole bunch of characters sound unique, and it's not just a single voice reading through. And I'm sure at some point AI will be able to catch up and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I prefer to pay a really reading person for their time or share in the proceeds because that is an option if you go through exclusively through Audible, as you can do a split of the profits, so you don't have to necessarily pay a person. So I've done that with one series, and then I've paid outright for my other two book series narrations, just because I think they do bring something a little different. But I love my narrators.
I also really like so the narrator who did my novella. Like he even told me he's like this book, he's like, I really like your book, it's so good. Like I feel like the fact that like they can read it and then they like become the characters. Like the narrator that I had for the prequel novella, like he asked me to like send him like a brief description of like how I would hear the characters. I absolutely loved that. That was like the best ever. And then he just became those characters. It was just so cool. I was like, this is awesome.
And then when you have a cast of like thousands, then it gets really complicated. I don't magical multiverse baby guy that got a little away from me. But I do see another question popping up saying, how many beta readers is best to have? So do you use beta readers, Tim? And if so, how many do you like to have for your stuff? And if you don't use them, that's totally fine too, because some people don't.
So I do use beta readers, but it depends. I feel like because they're beta and it's so early on in the process, I usually only do 3 to 5. And even then it might be too much because I feel like sometimes it's better to just have 2 or 3, you know, because it's I guess beta is more close to the end. Like alpha reading,
it's in the middle, yeah.
Would be beginning, but I don't know. For the novella that I wrote, I didn't have any beta readers for. For Immortal, I had maybe 2, and especially with nowadays, there's so many people who are just stealing your stuff. I just feel so scared to send people stuff on for beta. Even with ARC reads, people I've seen so many stories recently with people just stealing people's work through ARCs. I'm just it makes me so nervous to do, to send them. But
that's one thing is before I send my work out to anybody, I make sure I've already submitted it for the copyright certification, just because I want that proof. But yeah, when it comes to beta readers, yeah, I believe less is more, because you want to find people that are skilled in doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to help you edit and improve your work. They're not just there to read. If you are there just to read, be an ARC reader, that's
Right.
what you do. But if you're a beta reader, you're really supposed to help. If you see an error, be it grammar or spelling, if you see a plot hole, point it out, whatever, the point of doing that group of beta readers, but they are supposed to be there to help you improve your work. And so find people who are committed, who, have that, qualification. And again, less is more, because too many heads and too many opinions can bog down the story, because everyone's going to have their own opinion in the end about something. And you may hear 5 different things about one topic or point or character, and you'll be like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah. I will say for sure, like, less is definitely more when it comes to beta readers. At least in my, well, at least it sounds like both our opinion or both our experiences. But one thing I didn't do that I wish I did not have any ARC readers in my books. And I will say, like, my journey to where I'm at now, I've learned so much about marketing. I mean, I'm not great at it, but like I've definitely learned like how to, best get like reviews and stuff. And that's like one of my main things right now is like I don't have a lot of reviews in my books because I didn't do any ARC reads. And so what I've been doing is just like I've been doing like author swaps, and like I've been like sending books out to like influencers, like book talk influencers who have like a lot of following, and like I just asked them that they could read the book within like a few months. Like I'm not putting too much pressure on them, just so I can get some more reviews. It is like because their reviews are very small, yeah. And I think my novella has like 12 reviews, and then Immortal has like 5. So like definitely not very many people. I mean, people are reading it, they're just not leaving reviews, which is like drives me crazy.
I'll get back to the reviews in just a moment, because that's actually a very good valid point. But I did see a question pop in from Alex saying, how do we find trustable readers, in the sense of how did you choose your beta readers when you chose, the 2 for your first book and whomever you may be working with for upcoming works?
So the people I chose are people that I actually know, like in person, or like I've been friends with for a long time, like through TikTok or Book Talk, like people you can trust. I feel like it can be difficult, like trying to find people. Like if you don't like have people in your life who like to read fantasy, or like you don't like to read at all, like it's harder to find people. That was kind of me for a while. But like I have a friend who I met like a couple years ago. I used to work with him actually, and he's a really big like D&D nerd. And like he just like he'll offer. I'll be like, I'll happily just read your book before it's out. Just like and give my opinion, on whatever. And he gives really good notes, and I really appreciate it. And then I have another friend who is similar, but I met them through here, and it's just I can trust them because they've trusted me with their work. Like they sent me their stuff, and I feel like that's the other thing too. Is like if they can trust you, I can trust them. You know what I mean? It's like there's definitely that common like that theme there, right? You can trust somebody, and I don't know. I will say, the internet is the internet, and it's gonna be the internet, and people are gonna like you don't know anybody until you know them.
Yeah.
But there's definitely sometimes you can just tell when people are a good person and people are just trying to scam you.
You can get references from, if you start networking with other authors or writers or editors, you can ask and say, is there anybody you recommend? And because there are some people who, be like, oh, I trust this person, or this person's, a great beta reader, let me ask. And you can do that. There are different groups on certain platforms like Facebook that are there to, connect betas and alphas and ARC readers with other people. But again, until you know them, you don't know them. So there is always that kind of risk. So, keep that in mind. But once you start getting out there, and again, it's what do you do until you get out there and start, becoming known or having readers? But once you get out there, then you'll start building your fan base of readers, and you'll have people be like, I would do that for you. And then you start curating and see who works and go from there. But yeah, so that's a long-winded thing about that one. But going back, you were talking about, and then I saw that question, you were talking about reviews. So yeah, reviews, for many authors, it's like pulling teeth. You can do many things.
It's so hard. I don't know.
You can do many things, except you cannot ask or you cannot demand someone to give you a review. You can ask, you can't demand. And so that's the thing, is like, even if you have a huge number of ARC readers, all you can do is ask. The ARC reader deal is you can't demand to do it. And actually, certain platforms will take down reviews if anybody mentions that they were an ARC reader, because they think that's, even enough to be a cause of swaying their review, and that's not the case. You just want reviews. If they're good, bad, or the ugly, you do want them. But yeah, it's like pulling teeth. And I have a couple books that I've tried a whole bunch of things, and so they have a lot of reviews. But it's taken me years to curate that. It's not like something I get off the bat. And then I have some works that I know a lot of people read, but have like no reviews, and I don't know why. But it is always a frustrating thing.
Like, honestly, if you don't want to leave a review, I will happily just take a rating. Like, just
you just like thumbs up, thumbs down, please, something. Give me a star rating. Just tell me what, give me something. But yeah, that's always a tough topic. But the hour is running by, and I do have a couple questions I always like to ask everybody, just to make sure, because in the off chance this platform's nice, which we hope it is, I will repost this and repurpose this on my YouTube channel, so then people can come back and find it later and reference stuff, etc., so on. And I'll put your content information down below. But for people who are here now, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? Ooh, yes, covers. Also, please show the pretty covers.
Sorry, what was the question? I did not hear.
Where can people, actually, we'll flip it around. Where can people get your books? Let's do this one first, because you just showed the cover. So where can people buy your books, and what formats are they in? Because you mentioned audiobook, but clearly print.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Forsaken Kingdom right now is, you can get it on KU, ebook, paperback only through Amazon right now. But you can actually read this for free. People never take me up on this offer. All you gotta do is sign up for my newsletter, and you can read this whole book for free. It's literally free. It's also on Audible, if you want to check it out there. And I do have a couple promo codes left if anyone's actually interested in listening to it. The nice thing about the paperback, though, is, besides the fact that it looks amazing, shout out to my illustrator, because she's the best. Her name is Stephanie Shaw, and if you ever want a good cover design, because she did both of mine, and they're so good. The nice thing about these, though, is that, or this book, I should say, is that, well, I guess you can see it in the digital one, but you can't see it on the free version. Mm-hmm. But what I did with this book, which I'm going to do with the rest of the series, is I did like character art heading. And I did them for every chapter. And for this, at least for this book, there's only 3 POVs, 2 main POVs, and then there's like 1 single chapter for 1 POV. But I thought that was really cool, and I actually had a different illustrator do these. Somebody who actually I know in person, and she's just like an amazing artist, and she just does all these portraits for me. So that's where you can find that one. So if you sign up for a newsletter, you can get this for free. There's also a free short story, which is the prequel to this book, Immortal, and the short story is called Thane, and it's just about the brother's father. So it's like a prequel story, also free. Immortal, you can find on Amazon, paperback, Kindle, KU, will be on audiobook, and I have it on my TikTok shop actually too.
Nice.
And with this, I don't have any wrapped right now, but I would show. I wrap it up like a nice like red paper. It really pops out, and it has like a gold seal.
I love that.
And I'll include like little things in there, like bookmarks and
The goodies.
goodies. Like I have like these mini swords that everybody just loves when they get them. But just like it's like a variety pack that I get. And so there's mini swords, there's bookmarks. I have printout maps for the book that people really like. And actually, nobody knows this, so like you guys are all gonna find out first. Is that I just created some stickers that I'm gonna start including, and it's literally just well, I guess you can't really see, but on the cover of the book, there's like this V right here, and the shield. There's like a purpose for this like emblem on this cover. In the book, there's a organization called the Venatores, and the V is just like their symbol. So the sticker that I got made is literally just it's like the V, but with it says Venatores across.
Dude, fun.
It's yeah, I think it's really cool, and I am excited. I think I ordered like.
Now I'm gonna see you merchandising. Next time I talk to you, you're gonna have like a shirt with Venatora.
Hey, well, speaking of that, I have these mugs that I made for myself. I didn't make these for sale because I was like, it costs so much to have them made, but they're just like the coolest thing. Like just seeing them like on mugs. And then I have like my author, I can't even see it, my author logo on the back. But so yeah, and I definitely have thought about doing clothing. I think I might just stick to stickers for now. I have like a bunch of sticker ideas. So
I was gonna say that's the problem with me is like I have way too many ideas and never have enough time, money, or energy to actually do most of them. But I love ideas and I love throwing them out there. But I do like the sticker. And okay, the other question I always like to ask is where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? You mentioned you have a newsletter, but do you have a website or other socials? Where can people, continue to follow your writing journey?
So as far as my writing journey goes, Instagram I use not quite as often as TikTok. I probably post way more on here than I do on there. But that is like my author page, I guess you would call it. And then my Instagram handle is my author name, so it's TL_Routledge, and then that's my spell like how it is on here. That's my Instagram, and then so you're welcome to follow me there. And then my website is tlroutledgeauthor.com. And then if you sign up for my newsletter, obviously you can keep up with stuff and you can get free books. I mean, you get free books. Come on. Like, there's no better reason to sign up than to get free stuff.
Where can people sign up for your newsletter? Where can people find that link?
So if you go to my TikTok bio, and I have a link tree up there, and it's like maybe like my third or fourth tab down and just says like sign up for a newsletter, get a free book. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Just like just go, click, boom, type your email in. Literally in less than a minute, you will have Forsaken Kingdom and the short story thing in your hand. Well, on your phone, but in your hand.
Yes, exactly. But no, that's pretty neat. And I love when people offer like freebies because it does allow people to get a taste of your writing style and your world. And the idea, if people are like, oh yes, this is definitely for me, then hopefully they'll go and buy the rest of your stuff.
And that's why I did both. I wasn't going to put Forsaken Kingdom on there because I actually published this book. I didn't publish like the short story. Like it's just kind of there. I just kind of wrote it and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to just post it on this. Like I use a book funnel. Yes. So like it's not good. Like because it like does the, what do they call it? The,
automatically sends and
but it stamps it, so it's like you can't like whatever that called the water note. So I did that. But the mistake that I made, which I learned after I published this book and then I published this one, I use like a really high grade uh paper because I have like full like color maps in here, and I have two of them, and I wanted it to be in color because I wanted the people to see the map, but I had to use like this really expensive like paper. So like the book costs so much more on paperback than it should. It's like I think it's like $18 or some ridiculous price because it's like that's the lowest I can make it to where it's like, I can still sell it.
I wonder, and I love the idea of a color map. I mean, I do, I really do. But I also, as an author, know the expense of publishing a book. So, just throwing this out there, in the future, I don't know if you would ever be interested in printing a black and white map, but maybe also including a QR code that takes you to the color version on like your website or something like that. So they're like, hey, you want to see this in color? Do that, but then everything's black and white, and then you don't have to spend all that money on expensive paper because that can be a lot.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I could definitely do is I could do black and white maps, and then like if you buy off my TikTok shop, you can get the actual map still. That way, it's like best of both worlds.
Best of all worlds. So actually, let me ask, what is your world's name? Does it have a name? Are we dealing, because I'm assuming we're not dealing with Earth. So
No.
what is your world or kingdom or land?
So in Forsaken Kingdom, the whole world. Okay, I love. Like, let me just back up real quick. I love creating lore. Lore is like one of my favorite. I love like lore in books. Like I love like hearing about like things that happened like centuries ago. Like tell me, I want to know. Like just give me all the details. So anyway, this book has like the whole world is called Talaria, and then there's like 5 continents, and there's like multiple countries in each continent. Most of this story takes place in the continent of Niveth, and the main story takes place in the kingdom of Dagur, which is like the northern part of the country. But it's not like it's not like a snowy region, and like because it's like the continent's like south of like the snowy continent. But this is like a massive world. Like I will say, I don't have a map in here of like the entirety of the world. This is Niveth, or at least part of it, but the main part of it, the middle part of it, and there's like this is like a basically like an island continent that's like basically part of the same continent, but like this map is like an aerial map of like the northern country. So there is like some snow over here, but there's like most of the land is pretty barren. So that's that. World. In Immortal, the world is called Astria, and it's like I said, I definitely took some notes, I guess, off of the UK. I can't show this map because like for some reason when I like some of these books when I printed them, like the map pages just like fall out. It's so annoying. But I can show you the actual map I have. So give me 1 second.
Yeah. I love maps. And that's the one thing is like when writing some of my book series, my first book series has a map. It was contained in a continent. But ooh, that's pretty.
Yeah. So obviously it's backwards, but like so this is kind of like the England that I created, and then this is obviously Europe, and then like this over here. Originally my characters went to the U.S. So like this is like what the U.S. is. So the whole world is called Astria, and then like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 6 countries, and then so this is Estrella, this is Victania, this is Bellatorum. This is like right here. Bellatorum is really cool though because it has provinces, and then there's Soloria down here. There's Kilgore up here, and there's Narwind. And then a brief, quick explanation of like what countries they came from. Obviously, Estrella was the U.S. Victania was UK. Bellatorum initially was kind of like this, like a combination of like France, Germany, and like Romania, and just like bits and pieces of different countries. And then Narwind was like Norway and Sweden and like, the Northern European countries. And then Siluria was like Turkey and like the Middle Eastern area. And then Kilgore up here was more like Asia countries. So that's why like Europe is huge, and like I needed like to condense it to make it make sense. So that's why I kind of like created this. And I'm not sure. I actually don't know myself if there's more land like over here, because like they'll never go over there. So like it's not like a
that, and then you're right, and then the changes will expand it. You'll have to
more than likely, yes.
Expand your whole map.
But yeah, so and then there's like an island chain down here that's like important for the book, and yeah. So and then there's like a massive forest, and there's like a giant mountain range right here that are also very important to the book. So I had to like take the parts of the book in the original book, because like I kept the story the same, but I had to like keep the locations kind of the same, because I had to make it make sense still. So
did you make your own map, or did you get someone else to create one for you, or did you use a program? Because I know there are a couple map programs out there, I've heard.
I actually use a couple different ones. I've played around a bunch. I used to use Incarnate.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
Incarnate. I use Wonder Draft.
I don't know that one.
It's really nice. It's you can get like, I think it's it's like only like a one-time fee. I think it's like $60 one time. But I used for both of those maps. What is that?
I was gonna say these are my notes for today. I always learn stuff, and so I'm like, I keep my notepad with me.
So the maps that I have, I created those with Wonder Draft. I did, however, originally I was gonna make the maps. Sorry, I had hired a cartographer, and she had created these really nice maps for me, but they were like too big to fit into the book, and I couldn't shrink them without making it look weird. Yeah. And like it was just like too much of a hassle. So I still have those just for myself, and they looked amazing. It's just like, and those are in black and white. But so yeah, that's kind of like what I wish I could still do, is like kind of like make a more, I don't know. I like my maps, but and I think it's fun making maps, at least to me.
I wonder if there is a place that can print out your maps in the larger size, and then you could fold them up or make them into like scrolls and give them out when people buy through your TikTok shop. So you have, that's like something, that bonus for you, them buying from you, is to do your cartographer's map version as well. But again, I don't know the expense. I don't know.
That actually would be a really cool idea. I haven't looked into that to even really know, but I've thought about doing like a larger map, but I want it to be like that material where you can like, so it's not like it's paper or cardboard. It's like it's like a
cloth almost.
Like a cloth feeling. You know what I mean? Like it needs to be that feeling. Like that makes it the most.
I bet you could find someone on Etsy that
Probably.
If you gave them the template, they would be able to print it, screen print it on some kind of cloth-like material, and you could do that for like a bonus of a book release, or again an extra level tier for your TikTok shop. Hey, if you want the ultimate package.
Like $80.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, but these are some of the mini swords that I give.
Yes.
And so they're just like these little things, and like people love, they go crazy over these things. When people get them, they're like, "Oh my god, this sword is so cool!" And they're just like, honestly, it makes me so happy because I just like, I just randomly found these one day, and I was like, "They'd be like a cool thing to have, like in a package." And I was right. People love them, so.
That's absolutely great. I love that. Well, because the hour actually skimmed by and I wasn't even paying attention, I will ask this last question, and this goes for you, Tim, and for everybody else who's listening at this moment in time. Is there any question that you had that you weren't able to ask, or is there any topic that you wanted to cover that we haven't covered at this moment in time? Because this is that time. So.
Well, one of my questions I wanted to ask you was like, how do you keep yourself from getting distracted with other story ideas when you're writing your story?
I think there's a benefit. I'll say this and people will be like, what? And I'll be like, I was homeschooled, and so I almost inherently, and this is how I process it, inherently am very structured person and goal oriented, and if I say I'm going to do something for so much amount of time, I will do it for so much amount of time. So that does benefit me. And when it comes to trying to keep storylines straight, I usually pretty much like say, if I'm working on writing a story, I'm going to make sure I write the book from the beginning to end. If another idea comes up, I'll jot it down. I'll put side notes after hours or whatever. I'll maybe, toy with it a little bit, but my focus is on whatever I'm currently on. Once that's done, then I can refocus on another story for, the next duration. The only exception was earlier on this year when I was just struggling so much with that one book where I was like, I need my palate cleanser. I'm going to write a story that I've been wanting to write for a number of years. And so as of Friday, I think last Friday or the week before, I finally finished that book, that little palate cleansing book, and I was like, oh, that feels so good. Now I'm ready. Let's get back to it. So it's just, I think there is a benefit where if I hold myself accountable to finish whatever project I'm on, but then I can bounce to another one, and thus the juggling of multiple projects, because I do that. But I did see another question coming up here. How do we both keep motivated? So how do you keep motivated?
Oh my goodness. For me, I feel like because I have so many story ideas, and I just want to like have them out. Like I want people to read them. And I know like one of the big things with like new authors is they're so scared to have people read their books for the first time. But for me, it's like the opposite. Like I want people to read my book. Like I want you to read my book. Mm-hmm. But keep staying motivated to write. I will say it's hard. I mean, if we're being brutally honest, as an author, being an author is hard. like there's so many distractions. Not even just like other book ideas.
Yeah.
But like just life in general. Like I haven't written anything in like a week because like. Last weekend I had like a wedding that I was in, and all weekend I was at this venue like doing wedding stuff, and like before that I was just like busy with work, and like this week I've been busy with work. It's like it's hard to find time and like motivation to write sometimes. But I would say my biggest motivation is just like I already started writing a series, and I just need to finish it.
And for me, when it comes to motivation, kind of like what you were saying is I want people to read my books, and I have so many ideas. And so I feel like I'm always trying to race quicker and quicker, trying to be able to write as much as possible and put it out. I do have the benefit for being able to cobble it together and be a full-time author and artist. So I do have that luxury of being able to dedicate more time in a day than someone who has a full-time day job and a family and kids, et cetera, so on, that does eat into writing time. And so for everybody that I think is super successful, doesn't matter if they're full-time authors or they have 3 jobs and 5 kids, It's that finding a routine and saying, okay, I'm locking down and I'm gonna, after hours, the kids are in bed, and I'm gonna sit down for 30 minutes and write as much as I can and do that every other day. That's maybe all you need to do just to hold yourself again accountable, have that routine. It becomes kind of almost natural in a way, and that does, I think, help a lot of people because we want to tell our stories. So the trick is trying not to have all the other outside distraction so that we can tell our stories.
TikTok is a huge distraction.
It is. It's marketing.
I'm marketing.
What we're doing right now, we're marketing our books. By the way, we write books, if you don't know.
What writing platform do you use when you write your books?
Word.
Yeah, I use Scrivener for most of the time, and then I also use Atticus.
I do want to play around with Atticus.
Atticus is nice because it's like it makes the formatting process so much easier. One thing I don't like about Atticus is like it doesn't show like it does sometimes. Like sometimes it shows you like grammar mistakes, but sometimes it doesn't show you. So that's like sometimes I like take it out of Atticus and put it in Word just like see if it's like what's wrong with it before I put it back in Atticus. And then Scrivener is nice because it's like you can track sometimes I'll do like writing goals on there. Like so I'll do like the book length writing goal, and then I'll do like chapter length per day, like word count writing goals. And I used to do like 2,000 words a day was like my goal, but that's so much to write in a day, especially when you have like no motivation to write.
So start smaller. Start smaller.
Yeah.
500 words, and then once that's super easy, then maybe bump it up and say, okay, let's see if we do 800 words or something. But I get it, and we only have so much time a day, and especially for me, I love writing. I love it. I obsess about it so much. But I also have other things I like to do too. So I also want to make sure I can enjoy the other hobbies, the other passions, the other things that I love as well. But yeah, I want to play with Atticus, and my idea is continue to use Word to write and kind of do some of the grammatical edits, and then move it over to Atticus for the formatting aspect and go from there. But that is something on my to-do list. I bought it almost a year ago and haven't tried it out.
You should definitely try it out. It's really nice. It's also like makes it so convenient for like doing like chapter headings. You can do like different formats and like you can put like I use Atticus when I used like for this book when I put the character artwork up there. Like I used it was like so convenient. Like you can customize everything. Like so with these I put like the chapter up here and I put the chapter title down here. Like I could have had them both on top. I could have them both on the bottom. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's very user friendly for sure.
I love that. Well, thank you. Now that does give me a goal for the next little bit to also play around with Atticus, because that has been on my to-do list for a long time. But again, with there's so many distractions and so many things you have to do as an author, I kept pushing that one off. But I want to say, since we are running a little long, and I've heard my dog pacing at this point, he's probably dancing, ready to be let out. It's a little later than I normally do. But thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight, Tim. And if you ever want to do one of these again, just feel free. I love doing them. I do them weekly. I do plan them in advance. But, if you ever want to come back and talk about books, the future release, etc., so on, just let me know.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
And thank you for everybody who's jumped on and asked questions and hung out with us. And until next time, everyone, hope you have a fantastic week. Bye.
Bye.